Good morning, everybody. My name is Balvin De Gea, and along with my colleague Elliot Randall, we are the legal advisors on MiFriendly Cities from Central England Law Centre. Today, we're going to be talking about the routes to citizenship for young people and upholding migrant rights. So Central England Law Centre is based in Coventry and Birmingham, and we provide free specialist legal advice to those that need legal advice and representation and possibly don't know how to access legal advice or finance legal advice and representation. We have lawyers and caseworkers that deal with areas of law, including immigration, family law, employment law, benefits law, welfare law, to name a few. And our services have been well and truly exercised during this pandemic. So throughout the MiFriendly Cities project, our role was to identify migrant families that may be prevented from accessing legal advice or representation, or that may have other issues, non-immigration issues that they may need assistance with, and to raise awareness and to point them in the right direction if we couldn't help them ourselves. So why are legal rights important? Legal rights are important for everybody in the United Kingdom. And this is one of the reasons for the legal health checks that have been conducted, because these have now identified that immigration issues intersect with other issues and other forms of legal rights for a lot of migrants in the UK. So the right to employment, the right to education, the right to access benefits. And this is what we've been dealing with throughout our time on MiFriendly Cities. Why is citizenship important? Research has shown that undocumented children struggle to access free legal advice. When I say undocumented children, I should also say undocumented migrants in full, families with children and without children. They struggle to access free and good legal advice and are not aware of the routes to citizenship or why it's important, if not today, then in the future. Changes to legislation in 2013 dramatically reduced the scope of legal aid, meaning that children cannot automatically qualify for free legal help with citizenship and immigration applications. Those of you that work in this field will know that the fees for citizenship and for other immigration applications are very high, and not everybody can afford them. Research has also shown that children with unresolved status face many barriers in exercising their rights. They're vulnerable to poverty, to homelessness, exploitation, and abuse. One of the key things that we've worked with and identified throughout our time on this project is that children, when they get into their teenage years, when they're in year 10, 11, 12, making really important decisions for their future, become stuck because they can't access student funding, they can't apply to universities through UCAS due to not having identification documents or citizenship. As children get older, as young people get older, they find that they are prevented from pursuing their education. As I've already mentioned, student finance is a big issue. Restricted healthcare, precluded from work, denied public funds, even basic things as being stopped or denied from opening a bank account or renting a property or traveling abroad are issues faced by a lot of young people who don't have citizenship or some form of settled status or legal status in the UK. The benefits of a child being registered as British can be highly significant for other family members who don't have status, potentially opening the way for undocumented parents to secure immigration status and hence provide a more secure environment for the child. With this, what we mean is that you may have a family with 3 or 4 children, but only one of them has gained citizenship or some kind of legal status, be it the 7-year children rule, through which the parents can then apply to legalise themselves as well, which then opens up the opportunities to work, to rent their own home, to public funds even. Which will improve the quality of life for these families. There are several different routes to citizenship for children, but nationality law is very complex, has always been complex. We are going to talk about 2 different ways of gaining citizenship. One is by operation of the law. So a child born in the UK to a settled parent or a British parent, and the second is registration. Registration can occur under the immigration rules, or it can be a discretionary application as well. But it's available for children up until the age of 18 to be registered as British citizens. With registration, it's key to remember that registration can occur even if a child doesn't have an automatic entitlement to British citizenship. So how did the Law Centre project work? Well, myself and my colleague Elliot employed as caseworkers on the MiFriendly Cities project, and we worked very closely with another project within the Law Centre called KIND, Kids in Need of Defence UK. This project provides specialist advice and services for citizenship for young people, for British citizenship for children. And they have a team of specially trained pro bono lawyers who they work with, who complete the applications on behalf of the applicants identified throughout our project and the KIND project. To date, this part of the project, or the Central England Law Centre's part of the project, that Elliot and I have worked on, has contacted 551 schools across Coventry, Birmingham and Wolverhampton. We've held 72 sessions to raise awareness of citizenship and other paths to legalising one's status in the UK. So whilst our sessions have been primarily about citizenship, we have discussed family applications, long residence applications. We've given advice on other routes to immigration. I think this has led to several families gaining status or gaining the knowledge to be able to apply for status, as well as several children procuring British citizenship. And most importantly, I think the families that we've worked with, they've all had financial difficulty or financial issues. So we have successfully been able to apply for fee waivers before we've done applications to ensure that our clients haven't had to pay any fees anywhere. And just quickly, briefly talking about fees, I mean, for one immigration application, the fees are £1,052 plus immigration health surcharge, which is £1,560 since last October. So that's nearly £2,700 per person. And we've had families of 4, 5, 6 where we've been able to have these fees waived, which I think has been a tremendous success for us. Another aspect of our project has been the relationships that have been formed and have carried on throughout my time and Elliot's time on this project. As mentioned previously, we've got teachers, pastoral workers, social workers, other agencies, to include Crisis for one, who pick up the phone and call us to make referrals or seek advice. These partnerships have helped provide a consistent service to our migrants or our migrant communities during these difficult, trying and unprecedented times. As you can see, the figures on here, securing citizenship for young people, KIND received 218 requests for specialist advice on entitlements to citizenship from families of young people in the West Midlands. 97 people in the West Midlands also self-assessed themselves for citizenship using our Path to Papers website link. And 148 young people and their families have received free specialist legal representation to make citizenship applications. These are phenomenal numbers, and when you think about the costs of citizenship applications and how much money has been saved on legal advice to these families, it's a really big achievement. From working with KIND, I know that they are constantly taking referrals online, and they are currently have waiting lists to deal with applicants. Okay. This clearly indicates or evidences the need for the service and the current delays. Whenever we receive a referral or we meet a prospective client, we conduct a legal health check where we ask specific questions to gain an insight into the client's personal circumstances so that we can assess and advise accordingly and identify the client's needs. Now, the needs can vary from immigration to housing to, financial. The legal health check, as I've mentioned, is a check form which asks for information about their home, their finances, their debts, their benefits, any loans they may have, their outgoings, so that we can get a clear picture of what that family or that individual's circumstances are. I've talked a lot about legal health checks for migrants, and I just want to explain that the legal health checks occur whenever we receive a referral or we meet a prospective client or participant. We conduct a legal health check where we ask specific questions to gain an insight into that client's personal circumstances so that we can assess or advise after identifying the client's individual needs. They could be, immigration needs, they could be financial needs, they could be housing needs. But the legal health check is a document used to understand what is happening in a person's life at that moment, and then identifying how we can help them or what support may be available to them. We have had students who can't afford student fees. We have had victims of domestic violence, and that's been both male and female, who didn't know what they could do or what was available to them because they were new in the United Kingdom. We've had participants that have no recourse to public funds and are struggling financially, but after conducting a legal health check, we've been able to advise them and then apply for that condition to be waived. So the issues are varied, and every legal health check that we've conducted has been different. So as the slide says, outreach, reaching the most in need. I'm really pleased to say that since we've been on the project, we've managed to carry out 253 legal health checks in the community. We have conducted, or we've delivered rather, 72 presentations to schools across the West Midlands, and we have partnered up with 40 other agencies or organisations. We've proactively worked with Coventry City Council, Birmingham City Council and Wolverhampton City Council, as well as organisations including Crisis, CRASAC, and family hubs. Our outreach work in the voluntary sectors also led to a lot of legal health checks and a lot of assistance provided to migrant families in the community. We've partnered up with Migrants at Work, who outreach social innovation project, who is an outreach social innovation project supported by MiFriendly Cities, and it's called WINK. What I Need to Know. WINK teaches labour rights at the intersect between immigration and employment law to empower migrants in the community. MiFriendly Cities has always been about, and it reiterates, and I reiterate now, the importance of partnership work and how we can best meet the needs of the most vulnerable members of our society by working together. Special links with schools. I'm going to read a quote from an email sent to us, which I think says it all. The MiFriendly Cities project and overall support that the Coventry Law Centre offers our school community has been immensely valuable during these uncertain times. I often contact Bal and the team at Coventry Law Centre regarding a host of issues families are presented with. This provides a vital lifeline for many of our families. Many thanks, Bal, for your ongoing support while supporting with better life chances for many of our parents and families. That's a very deep quote from an email sent to us by one of the schools that we support. And I'd just like to add that throughout this pandemic and since the beginning of the project, we have provided support to schools across the 3 West Midlands cities, and in delivering presentations, meeting with participants on a one-to-one basis and conducting legal health checks, we have been identifying needs, even where the participants themselves weren't aware of what their needs were or how to access services or even advice. Throughout the project, we've been able to rehome young families who've had homes crawling with rats. We've helped families facing eviction. We've managed to secure fee waivers where families don't have the finances to pay for legal applications. And this is all significant advice and services that migrants couldn't afford without MiFriendly Cities. The impact of the legal health checks in Casework has been that we have helped migrant families, we have helped people get funds, we've helped people be rehoused. We have referred participants to other departments within our law centre or other agencies and organisations to help them get the support they need to access training, to access employment, and also to access public funds and benefits that they should be, that they should be able to avail. So we have identified 76 clients with children entitled to British citizenship. 75% of these people were not confident to make the applications themselves, and they needed advice and support, or they needed to be able to access the advice and support. Moving on from that, there were interrelated social justice issues. We identified 28 people, which were 13% of our legal health checks, who were unable to afford their homes and were at risk of homelessness. And 108 people, so 50% of all those receiving a legal health check, who did not understand their tenancy rights. Some didn't even know who their landlord was. We've gone on to identify 17 people who needed advice about their rights due to domestic violence, and 36% of people having a legal health check were not receiving the support or able to access the services that they were entitled to. We believe that this pandemic shone a light on the poverty experienced by migrants, particularly those with no recourse to public funds, and the relationship between immigration and access to benefits, employment, the NHS, and the overall finances of the family. The worry of money or the lack of money leads to other stressful factors and impacts every member of a family. As it says in a participant's own words, I'm going to read out another quote for you from a participant. I got in touch with the MiFriendly Cities at Coventry Law Centre, and throughout my application, I worked with Balvin De Gea. From deep inside my heart, I really appreciate all the support I received. I was supported to write to the Home Office to remove the no cost to public funds on my visa, apply for a fee waiver for my son's application and extend his visa. I really appreciate this project, that this burden was lifted. I worried every day because I want to live within the Home Office guidelines and not breach the immigration laws. But for families like mine, money is the issue. It is not that I want to live benefit-free from the system, but the cost of living with such things as rent, bills, etc., even after working so hard, the money is not enough to pay the Home Office fees plus surcharges. At times, I have no time to spend with my children because even on my day off, I want to work extra shifts to make enough money for my application. For my family, it's been a relief since we had this support from MiFriendly Cities. I really appreciate fully their help. My children and I no longer live in an overcrowded accommodation and now live a normal family life. The pressure from financial thoughts has been lifted. I'm going to discuss now a parent of a child whose school we attended for a legal health check. The client has a 5-year visa due to him working for the British Forces. The client opened up to us in his legal health check about his struggle to sustain a living and to provide for his wife and family despite receiving housing benefits. In this client's legal health check, we came across an array of legal issues which are discussed below. He was also waiting for a payment from the armed forces for injuries sustained whilst in the employ of the British Forces. He did not understand the letters being sent to him or what he had to do in response. We assisted him by explaining and liaising on his behalf. After hearing of his struggles to support his family and his health issues, we conducted a benefits assessment where it was identified that this client was eligible for personal independence payments. We advised the client how to access an application pack and assisted him with the completion of the application, as well as dealing with all other issues raised by him. One of the most important issues that this client raised and that we helped with was that whilst working for the armed forces, he'd suffered injury and had shrapnel in his legs. So walking was a problem for him, but he was living on the 4th floor of a block of flats. He wanted new accommodation, preferably on the ground floor, so he doesn't have to endure the pain that he experienced by the daily walking up and down the stairs. We referred this client to the South Housing Department, who contacted his accommodation provider and made representations. As a result, he was rehoused in January 2020 in a ground floor flat. This is a scenario of a legal health check identifying not just one, but several issues, and issues that we were able to deal with through the MiFriendly Cities project. As it says on the slide, specialist advice can prevent crisis. After building rapport with schools in Coventry due to carrying out legal health checks with their parents, a particular school asked whether we could meet one of their parents. This parent identified as being very distressed. He had 5 children and was being evicted from his home. We conducted a legal health check with the gentleman concerned and became aware that he was known to social services. He had appeals previously, which he'd failed to exercise and was out of time. The clock really was ticking for this gentleman, and we met with him on a Friday morning at the school. The eviction was due to take place the following Tuesday. However, in the short time span that we had, we got the housing team at Central England Law Centre involved, who took on the case and successfully managed to stop the eviction. The gentleman, as I said earlier, had been served with a notice to vacate, and the landlord had obtained an eviction order due to the failure of the rent being paid. Our housing team contacted and liaised with social services and obtained an agreement that social services would pay or continue to pay his rent, and thus allow the property to remain with the family, and the family could stay in the same house going forward. That in itself was a major achievement done in 2 working days, only possible once again through MiFriendly Cities. And now, instead of hearing more about this from me, why don't you hear about this from one of our participants?
Hello, my name is Helen Omololu, and this is my husband, Sheyi Omololu. I would like to say a big thank to Mr. Ba and the team. They've done a great job on our immigration status. Before we met Mr. Ba, we've been to several lawyers, and they've been collecting money without any result. When I met Mr. Ba in my daughter's school, Banter Primary School, we were discussing. I told him everything that the lawyer said is impossible, and the little money we had, they've been collecting here, they are not doing anything. When I met him, he said, don't worry, everything will be settled. And he told me one thing that I will never forget. He said, this is the day your struggle have ended. I will never forget that word. Thank you for your courage. When I said, I'm scared, he said, don't be worried, everything will be fine. He gave me courage. He's such a lovely man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Things were really hard. It's not an easy journey, but we thank God. Things were difficult. Things was hard. Even during this pandemic, we still managed to get, because this was really hard, this pandemic. But we thank God for the little friend we have. They really support us, and the church. We want to say a big thank you. October 28th, he called me, and he said they've granted us our stay. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you with your team. I really appreciate you for all what you've done. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you and your family. Bye.
Bye. We appreciate you a lot. Thank you very much. And the team. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Embedding rights in MiFriendly Cities. Upholding migrants' rights are an important part of being a MiFriendly region. And this is due to the fact that migrants have poor knowledge of their rights and entitlements. There's a strong correlation between insecure immigration status and other civil justice issues. The need for specialist and free specialist advice is high. Working in partnership with a range of statutory and community-based partners is important to reach migrants who are most excluded in our region. Providing information and expertise that will enable local authorities to take a proactive approach to legal rights issues for migrants, for example, building on the model used for EU settlement scheme, providing training to schools and children's services, faith organisations, etc., to identify young people and their families with citizenship rights, working with families to remove barriers for citizenship for young people. Barriers are often things like fees, access to advice, and even knowing how to complete the application form. And partnering up with community groups to use a rights-based approach to complement their practical support to migrants. I've given a lot of information today regarding Central England Law Centre and how we've been working within the MiFriendly Cities project and raising awareness for citizenship and legal rights. If anybody wants to talk to us about any of the information discussed, or seek some advice, or want to share anything with us, our contact details are listed below.